Welcome to the first episode of HisChem, a history show that helps us understand the science and technology of the world we live in today. I'm Michal Meyer. I'm a historian of science and the editor of Chemical Heritage magazine here at CHF.
And I'm Bob Kenworthy, a chemist and also on staff here at CHF. Today's program is titled, How We Learn to Stop Worrying and Love the Zombie Apocalypse. Our guests today are Dr. Robert Hicks and Deanna Day. Zombies are pop culture and they're science fiction. CHF is a serious history of science institution. So why are we even doing this show?
I think that pop culture often gives people a narrative to latch on to help them understand science and new scientific discoveries. For instance, World War Z has a lot that it's trying to teach its audience about the way that disease works, the way that global travel and global technological networks work, and the way that institutions like the WHO function. And I think it behooves serious academic institutions to both be aware of and understand what messaging is happening, and also to use that as a way to jump off and organize their own programs of public education.
I think that's all well said, and I think it's a great idea to use scary stuff like this as avenues to real scientific investigation. And even some of the cinematic depictions of the really lurid stuff out there still show the scientists or the rational investigators as trying to ask good questions, trying to find evidence, try to search for solutions. And that's a good way of keeping a scientific process, I think, in a public eye.
How did zombies first ooze their way into the public imagination? Robert?
Everything your viewers know about zombies, zombie with an E on the end, particularly connected with voodoo, spelled V-O-O-D-O-O, means it comes entirely from popular culture and from the movies. It's forgotten that the United States occupied Haiti for almost 20 years in the early 20th century. And a lot of what Americans discovered about Haiti became immediately sensationalized. Zombies came up, zombie with an I, not an I-E ending, as not somebody who comes from the dead and walks around in slow motion and menaces people for their brains, but rather a form of social death for socially undesirable people. And an American journalist during this American occupation by the name of William Seabrook wrote a book called The Magic Island. This became hugely popular, widely read, and it sensationalized some aspects of Haitian culture. It also invested some heavy racist and sexual component to what was going on in Haiti. And zombies got mixed up in there. Zombies as somebody who was removed from society by feigning their death, and then perhaps reviving them from this feigned death and enslave them in some context. The folklorist and American anthropologist Zora Neale Hurston also got into the act in the 1930s by going down to Haiti, writing a book about it, and she gets the credit for publishing the first photograph of a zombie. That is somebody who experiences social death. And this interview with the zombie and photograph was published in Life magazine in the 1930s. And the photograph shows a poverty-stricken, pretty beleaguered person, a woman who had been declared dead in 1907. And here it is in the 1930s, and this poor woman just can't find a life anywhere. Hollywood picked up on it almost immediately. And in the early 1930s, a movie called White Zombie appeared. And this was the real first lurid on-screen idea about zombies as sort of some dead creatures come back. But also popular literature took off. And some of the soldiers who served in Haiti during the occupation started to turn out lurid pieces about what really goes on in Haitian society. So unfortunately, it all has a Haitian root. But the science bit comes back into the picture in the 1980s when a Harvard ethnobotanist named Wade Davis writes a book that purports to be academic, became a bestseller, called The Serpent and the Rainbow. And it intended to explore in the dispassionate language of science, although not really, what is a zombie, how do they get made, and it assumed that there was a process, a pharmacological process, that can induce the appearance of death, and a secondary narcotic can then take the person who's been made dead, revived, and then essentially enslaved under a second drug. Unfortunately, the academic world went nuts about this. The book has been ravaged. The idea of it still percolates, but the onslaught of all the zombie films has made this so intellectually disrespectable that it's almost impossible to get, say, an aspiring graduate student to go do it because no professor would sponsor it.
You know, who doesn't like a good zombie story now and then?
Well, I think everybody likes a good zombie story, or at least can understand why a good zombie story is frightening. So one of the most compelling things about zombies is the way that they act as a proxy to help us understand and experience our fear of science and our fear of particularly 20th century powerful institutions of science. So in Night of the Living Dead, for example, zombies are caused by radiation brought back to Earth from a space probe. And there is embedded in that movie and in that narrative a fear about what this kind of unfettered science can bring to Earth. And there's wonderful scenes of government officials kind of trying to dodge the media and dodge attention in that movie, which is something that often gets forgotten in favor of the zombies eating innards. And same thing comes in the 1980s and into the 2000s, when you have a lot of zombie movies that are about pandemic fears, where zombies are caused by viruses on the loose, which are either attacking humanity because of humanity's intervention and exploration of areas of the earth that they shouldn't be in, or they're the results of rogue experimentation in a lab, and then zombies become the personification of the danger that science can pose, or that the public imagines